There's a toy shop on the edge of Millfield Lane that nobody talks about anymore. The sign above the door reads, "Hargrove's Curiosities," in letters that were once red, now faded to the color of old rust. Nobody remembers when it opened. Nobody remembers who opened it, but everyone in town remembers the doll. Her name, or rather, the name stitched into the ribbon around her neck, is Ellie. She sits in the window. She has always sat in the window. Porcelain skin, glass eyes the color of a winter sky. A dress made of ivory lace that is never yellowed, never torn, never gathered a single grain of dust. Her lips are painted into a smile so precise it almost looks natural. Almost. The children who walk past the shop always stop. They press their small hands against the cold glass and look at Ellie. And Ellie looks back. And that is where the story should end. A pretty doll in a pretty window. But it doesn't end there. It never ends there. The first to notice something wrong was a man named Gerald Pitts. He worked the night shift at the bakery across the street. He arrived at 2 in the morning, every morning. And every morning he passed Hargrove's Curiosities without looking twice. Until one Thursday night in November, when he glanced across the street and noticed the doll wasn't in the window. He stopped. He stared. The window was empty, the velvet display stand bare. He told himself the shop owner had simply moved her, rearranged the display. It meant nothing. He went inside, began his shift, began mixing flour and water and yeast, and tried to forget about the empty window. At 3:47 in the morning, he looked up from the kneading table. The doll was back in the window, and she was looking directly at him. He dropped the dough. He backed against the wall. And then he told himself, and very firmly, the way adults tell themselves things that terrify them, that she had been there all along, and he had simply missed her in the dark. He finished his shift. He went home. He locked his door. He quit the bakery the following Monday. But you should stay with me, because it gets worse. A little girl named Mara lived 2 streets away from Hargrove's Curiosities. She was 8 years old, bright and curious and fearless in the way only children can be, the kind of fearless that hasn't yet learned what fear is truly for. One afternoon in December, 3 days before Christmas, Mara noticed that the shop door was open. Just a crack. Just enough for a cold thread of air to curl out onto the pavement, like a finger beckoning her closer. She pushed the door open. The shop was dark except for the light from the street. Shelves lined every wall from floor to ceiling, crammed with toys, wooden horses, tin soldiers, music boxes, puppets with tangled strings, porcelain figures with their arms outstretched. The air smelled of cedar and something underneath the cedar, something older and sweeter and not entirely pleasant. And there in the center of the shop, on a round table draped in green velvet, was Ellie. Mara walked closer. The floorboards beneath her feet did not creak. And somehow that was worse than if they had. The shop was utterly, perfectly silent. She reached out and touched the doll's hand. Cold, ice cold, colder than the December air outside, colder than the glass of the window, colder than anything Mara had ever touched. And then, slowly, with the mechanical precision of a clockwork, thing winding itself awake, Ellie's head turned. Not all the way, just enough. The glass eyes shifted from the middle distance to Mara's face. The painted smile did not change. The painted smile never changed. Mara did not scream. She could not scream. Her voice had gone somewhere deep inside her and refused to come back. She walked backward. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, never taking her eyes off Ellie's eyes, until the backs of her legs found the door and she was outside and running. And she did not stop running until she was home with her back against her bedroom wall. She told her mother. Her mother called it imagination. Her mother said dolls do not move. But here is what Mara knew and what her mother did not know, because Mara had not told her everything. When Ellie's head had turned, she had not just looked at Mara, she had smiled wider. Not the painted smile. Beneath the painted smile, something real. Something that had no business being on a porcelain face. Something that knew Mara's name. The shop was closed for inspection 2 weeks later. The officer who went in came out 6 minutes later and refused to discuss what he had seen. He filed a single sentence of report. Premises found to be unoccupied. No inventory of note. No inventory of note. But here's the last thing I will tell you. The display window of the old Hargrove's Curiosities is still there. And in the window, on the original velvet stand, Ellie still sits. Her dress is still ivory white. Her eyes are still the color of a winter sky. And her smile is still, just slightly wider than it was in any photograph taken before December. Nobody walks on Millfield Lane at night anymore. But if you ever find yourself on an unfamiliar street and you see a toy shop with a doll in the window, and the doll seems to be watching you, don't stop. Don't look back. And whatever you do, don't touch her hand. If this story reached something inside you, you're not alone. There are more stories like this one waiting in dark corners and old shops. If you want them to find you, subscribe. The next one is already watching. Good night.